Yo, what is good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new series on this channel. What if Batman was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Let's go! Now, before we start this part up, I just gotta, announce something. As it's pretty obvious by the title, I probably won't be speaking for like a lot of this video. That will be for my boy Crown Fiend. That will be his job. Pretty much he's gonna be doing like the starting of this. He'll be getting us all hyped up for when he enters and starts beating up Thanos or whatever happens. But yeah, so pretty much he's gonna start off with like his own movie and stuff. That'll be really cool. But anyway, that's pretty much that. Remember, if you enjoy this video or any of that, just remember, like, subscribe, all of that jazz. If you kind of want to continue watching my videos and be caught up as soon as the videos are live, chuck on the notification bell. That'll be pretty nice. You'll be able to see the video as soon as it comes up. So yeah, that will be a good thing. And another thing, just if you have a comment or anything like that, comment them down below. If you have anything you want to suggest a video in general, or I don't know, just say g'day, you can do that as well. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Just remember, God is awesome, you guys are too, and let's just get straight into this epic what if with my boy Crown Fiend. Let's get into it, mate.
Alright, let's go ahead and dive right on into Batman in the MCU. Now, to just go ahead and clarify about some things out of the way, this is going to be our own idea on how a MCU first Batman movie would go, which this is only covering Batman's first year, and we've gone ahead and decided on a villain for this one. And I can tell you right now, it is not the Joker. The Joker is not going to be a part of Batman Year 1. And instead of Iron Man being the one that goes ahead and starts the process of building the whole Avengers and Marvel Cinematic Universe's timeline, that is going to start off with Batman. And don't worry, I'm taking inspiration from a lot of Batman movies. Particularly the new one that just came out, but there will be no spoilers. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's go ahead and dive right on into it. So where we'd pick up the movie and where I feel like it would start is a bit of Bruce closing his eyes, meditating in a far distant land, and we see what's inside of his mind. The fear that he has, the bats flowing around, along with him walking down the alley with his parents, running into Joe Chill, and then losing both of them. I'd have it just be a really quick sequence. That way you know his backstory, you know the driving force behind this, before then cutting to his final task. His eyes awaken, and he's led down to a chamber to complete his training. From there, he leaves and heads right back to Gotham. At the airport, he would meet Alfred, as Alfred would get him up to speed on everything that's been happening, especially with Stark Industries. You see, in this timeline of events, since Stark Industries is around, Wayne's company is not that big as it would have been, because Stark and Wayne have a head-to-head competition trying to expand the most and the fastest. And since Tony hasn't become Iron Man yet, this leads into a bit of a problem. Bruce has been gone from Gotham for 8 years from when he was supposed to go ahead and take over the company. However, with his absence, the board really couldn't hold at bay and are on the verge of selling Wayne's company to Tony to be absorbed by Stark Industries. So the first thing that Bruce is met with is a choice. Either sacrifice his parents' company or go ahead and try to save it by going against the board. And this time, the company isn't going to be public at all. It's still private. And so Bruce would go home, he would clean up, change into a suit, and head to Wayne Enterprises. And from there, he would have a meeting with the board, who would then introduce Obadiah Stane. And yes, I would have Obadiah be the one to come to this meeting, because he's a lot more crafty and cunning than anything Tony is. And this would really help set up a, possible movie with him as an antagonist, as we would get a little bit of an idea what type of character he's like. From there, you have Bruce meeting Obadiah, as Obadiah would say, "Mr. Wayne, so nice of you to be coming back." As Bruce would say, "Well, of course, after all, you're trying to steal my company out from under me." As a conversation would go, Bruce would flat out refuse any offer that was made to buy his company, saying that his company will never be for sale, and especially not to Stark Industries. After all, in this one, Bruce is going to have a little bit of resentment towards Tony because of his family, as I'm going to say that Thomas Wayne's company was turned down for the Super Soldier program, and Tony's family was chosen to go ahead with it. And so, Thomas never really got over that, and it kind of left him a bit bitter in a way. And that trickled down into Bruce, especially seeing how Tony acts, how he's just so carefree with the death of his family. It kind of meant nothing to him. And so Bruce really doesn't like that about Tony. Along with that, Bruce would say that this meeting has no further purpose, and he wishes Obadiah a nice visit and a safe trip back to New York, and that he shouldn't probably stay in Gotham for too long. After all, it's not nice to men like him. As Obadiah would ask what Wayne meant by that, as Bruce blows him off and walks out of the office. From here, Bruce gets a handle on his company over the many months of him preparing to become Batman. Of course, he would meet Lucius Fox, who would then guide him down and showcase all of the technology that they had, and that was rejected by the military in favor of Stark's weaponry. And so Bruce takes it and starts giving it minor upgrades. He upgrades the cowl to be more durable. However, in exchange, it compromises the flexibility of his neck. He builds stronger armor. However, the separation of the plates, his armor is weaker. As he builds his gadgets more and more, along with putting on a project called Batmobile. It's not something that he'd have done for a while. However, he does think that it's time to at least attempt his first night and see if the Batman can make it in Gotham. So the first night out, Bruce would actually be stopping what he would think is a drug operation. However, seeing that the police were there, he decided to hold back and observe. And to his shock, the police were actually taking money from the mobsters. So, Bruce waits, as he knows that they're all armed, and that he doesn't think he can take them all on at once. Not yet. He hasn't perfected his training at all. If anything, he's a bit more rough around the edges than perfectly fluid. This leads him to go and take them out one by one, eventually getting into an altercation where he is spotted, and he fights his way out. Beaten, battered, but successful in stopping the drug operations, seizing the drugs, and leaving it for GCPD. However, he does take a sample back to the Batcave for analysis. He wants to know what's out there and what is running through the streets of Gotham. This, of course, leads to him having little time to sleep in this timeline of events, as he's constantly having to fight off the pressure of Stark Industries trying to absorb his company, along with balancing his life as Batman. Alfred in this timeline tells Bruce that he needs to have someone that he can trust at Wayne Enterprises, someone who can help take the pressure off of him, and then says, "Sir, why not contact Mr. Fox? I'm sure he would be a great asset to have, and he already seems pretty excited that you're taking an interest in his Department of Applied Science." Bruce would pause and say, "Very well, Alfred. I'll make the arrangements. Have Mr. Fox over here by lunch. I wish to talk to him in private." Alfred says, "Right away, sir," as he goes to call Mr. Fox while Bruce gets some sleep. Fox would arrive over there as Bruce would then walk down and say, "Mr. Fox, it's a pleasure to have you. I have a business proposal for you." As Lucius would see this very curiously, not only has Bruce Wayne just returned a mere 3 months ago, but now he has a business proposal for Mr. Fox, who he's only spoken to very little. Lucius is very wary of Bruce's intentions, but eases up when Bruce says he wants to put Lucius in a higher position, one that doesn't require Bruce's immediate intention and involvement with his company, as he is still trying to adjust to things and needs a more flexible schedule. Lucius hears the offer and accepts, saying that the only reason he'd ever need Bruce there is to make a very important decision, but he can just call him and have it approved, correct? And Bruce would say yes, but he wants more development time put towards applied science, as Bruce knows that in this day and age, he needs to take every edge he can get. That means whoever Stark Industries kicks out, he wants. And then Bruce also invests into the stock market, buying up multiple shares of Hammer Industries. Bruce is going to get around Tony one way or another to show a force and get them to back off so the heat isn't on him and he can perform his duties as Batman more quietly, more stress-free. As Bruce has spent many nights out there, he would later come to know one name in particular that is on his list: Carmine Falcone, the man that runs everything in Gotham. Police, politicians, reporters, anything you can think of. Falcone has it in his pocket. And with this, Bruce starts his war on the Falcone family, eventually also coming across the Monroe family. And this is what gets very interesting, as Falcone and Maroni actually have a bit of a turf war brewing, and Bruce knows this is going to tear the streets of Gotham apart. However, not all is well, as the police actually do have a hit out for Bruce. So, along with having to fight crime, he's also having to avoid the cops, especially the corrupt ones. And this is where he comes across a man who has a bit of a distaste for his partner. That man being Jim Gordon, who is just transferred to Gotham City after an incident in his other branch, to put it lightly. So from there, Bruce starts hitting down every lead he can, brutalizing Falcone's and Maroni's thugs, getting information out of them before approaching Gordon, where he sees Gordon take down a whole group of Maroni thugs and start arresting them. That's when Bruce drops by. "You're one of the good ones, I see." As Jim would look back, seeing Batman and pulling his gun, saying, "I know you. You're wanted by every cop in the GCPD." And Bruce says, "You ever wonder why that is?" Before Jim stops to think for a moment, as Bruce then begins to tell Jim about the corruption, how far things actually go, and that those men right there will probably be out the next day. However, Bruce has information he can give Gordon to start getting the ball running, to start getting things moving more and more quickly, as Gordon is very pessimistic at this. However, he knows things are bad right now. Things need to change, and so he needs to at least see what this vigilante is offering. So, Bruce would hand over the documents to Jim. As Jim goes through it, he says, "This is going to change everything. You're really going to start knocking down doors with this, you know." However, no answer would come, as Jim would look back and see Batman has disappeared. From here, a couple more weeks would go by with Jim and Batman busting several different operations before coming across Falcone's penthouse. The war with the Maronis has gotten out of hand. The citizens, everyone, they're all dragged into the middle of this. There's blood on the streets. There is no safe place to get to. However, he can't enter there. But that's when Bruce notices something. Every night, the prostitution ring, they have to report their earnings back to Falcone. And so, with this, Bruce has found his way in, if he can get one of them to cooperate with him. He needs to listen in on everything, and that's when he comes across a girl called Selina Kyle, who is beating up this old man for trying to make the moves on her 13-year-old friend. This is the ugly side of Gotham that Bruce was always aware of, but never knew it was this bad. Bruce would then approach Selina and ask if she could talk. Of course, Bruce isn't in his Batman outfit. Instead, he's in his normal civilian recon suit, which is basically just a brown jacket, some blue jeans, and sneakers. Selina says about what? He says about Falcone. As she says, "Look, I have no idea who you are, but yeah, that's one name you don't want to get involved with," before escorting her friend away, saying, "That guy's got a death wish. Let's not get involved." So Bruce knows that if she won't talk to him, she'll talk to Batman. And so he leaves, only to come back the next night as Batman. Hunting the alleys of the prostitution ring for Selina, he eventually finds her, picking up a cat and bringing it to a real run-down apartment. Taking out his binoculars and spying across the rooftop, he learns who Selina is, the notorious cat thief that runs around in Gotham City. From there, Bruce follows her and then busts her from breaking in to the Gotham Museum, where there's a precious diamond that would give her enough money to get out of town and set up a new life. Batman would then stop her, as she would ask, "Oh, what is it now?" Turning around and seeing Batman, she's like, "I know you. You're that bat freak that everyone keeps talking about, the one that the GCPD has a hit out on." Before Batman would say, "Yes, now you're going to cooperate, and you're going to do me a favor. I need into Carmine Falcone's main office, and since you're a thief, and I know you have ties to the prostitution ring, I need you to get me in there. I need to hear what's being said." As she says, "And what do I get in exchange?" As Bruce says, "For one, I won't take you down right here and right now. And two, you can get your revenge." As her eyes widen, Bruce didn't know if she wanted revenge or not. It was just a gamble that paid off. Saying the right thing at the right time, he manages to secure Selina's alliance, as she then puts on some contact lenses that transmute video footage into Bruce's computers. All the while, he's able to hear everything and make IDs on everyone in there as well. From there, Bruce then finds out that he has the entirety of the DA's office, the mayor, everybody is on Carmine Falcone's payroll, except Gordon. He knew it was right to trust Gordon, and so he sends this footage to Gordon and tells him to take a look at it and tell him if there's anyone there that he recognizes. Gordon would then say, yeah, there's one person in here that I do recognize. His name's Bullock. He was my partner a while back, but after me and him got into it, they switched him. He's corrupt as they get, but he's also in league with the SWAT teams that's after you. And so Batman says, there's more to it than that. Bullock is also one of the enforcers for Falcone's men. From there, the two of them set up a plan to catch Bullock and then use him to ring in Carmine Falcone. From there, the trap is set, and when Bullock is caught, Batman then interrogates him while Jim records everything that Bullock says, sending it to the press. From there, Batman is free to finally bring down Carmine Falcone. But right before he does, Alfred tells him, "Sir, before you do bring down Carmine Falcone, I've neglected to tell you something, sir." "What is it, Alfred?" "Sir, Carmine Falcone saved your father from something. Something that would have been disastrous if it would have gotten out." As Bruce says, "Alfred, spit it out." And so Alfred says, one night Carmine came to the Wayne estate. As you know, he had been shot. He couldn't go to any other hospitals anywhere around. But your father, who should have sent him away right then and there, brought him in and saved his life. The doctor's vow. Sometimes it's a doctor's curse. From there, he would go on to explain that Carmine Falcone owed Thomas Wayne a favor. And the favor that he did indeed collect on, which then led to the death of someone in the mayor's office who was prying into Bruce Wayne's family history, particularly on his mother Martha's side, her being part of the Arkham family. This would send Bruce into shock, asking if anything could come to light that would damage his reputation. Alfred says, yes, it's possible. Carmine has been known not to throw anything away, especially since you came back, and now that you're expanding, it's looking like Falcone might have wanted to, well, put you in his pocket, sir. Bruce says, this ends tonight. No matter what happens to me, Alfred, I am ending Falcone tonight. Bruce then contacts Gordon and asks if everything's set up. Gordon says yeah, but he doesn't know if this is going to work, because if they fail, this is going to have one major fallout. As Bruce says, they won't fail. Batman then pays a visit to Carmine, going through the front door and beating the living hell out of every single one of Falcone's men that comes near him, eventually breaking into the penthouse, and right then and there having to take cover from gunshots all over. However, Bruce cuts the power. Nobody can see in the dark. All you see from bullets fired is a shadow of a bat beating the living hell out of many, many goons before appearing right before Carmine's face. This ends disastrously as Bruce continues to beat Carmine senseless, asking where the information on the Waynes is, and Carmine plays dumb, saying, "Waynes? I ain't got nothing to do with no Waynes." And then Bruce continually goes and beats him more, and more. However, by that time, Gordon's there with the other police, the power is back on, and they have to literally pull Batman off of Carmine before he kills him. Bruce stops what he's doing. He realizes that whatever is going to come to light will. Best thing he can do is just prepare for it. However, Carmine is arrested. As he's getting ready to be taken out, something strange happens. You see, as soon as Carmine gets put into the cop car, it blows up. Bruce's eyes go wide as he looks around everywhere, seeing if anyone's taking off running, anyone looking suspicious. He's looking at every window out there, but there's nobody there. Nobody that he can see. And that is where we would end the first Batman movie.
And that is the end of this part. Thank you, Crown Fiend, for kind of, doing this, for recording this first part. The second part will probably be on his channel. I'm not actually sure. It's either going to be on this channel or his channel. Either way, we'll figure that out when we get to it. And yeah, so if it's here, you'll see it's here. If it's on his one, then I'll send a link via community tab or something, so you can go check it out. And yeah, I'll be speaking on that part. But anyway, that's that. If you guys were wondering why Crown didn't go more in depth, if we made a full movie out of this series would be like 30 parts long. So it would just be way too long. So we decided to condense it down into less of a story based and more of a narrative based. So it would be more like we tell you what would happen, but it's not speaking scene to scene, pretty much. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, that's enough of my rant. So I hope you guys did enjoy this part. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, all of that jazz. If you want to see more of my stuff, then or when it comes out immediately, if you want to see it when it comes out, as soon as I post it, put on the notification bell. That was a tongue twister. But yeah, chug on the notification bell and you'll get to see my videos as soon as they're uploaded. And yeah, if you want to put a comment down, that'd be pretty cool as well. But that's pretty much that. I do hope you guys do enjoy that. Go check out Crown Fiend. He's an absolute legend. He won't be doing a lot of shonen stuff like My Hero or any of that. He'll more be doing seinen stuff, as he's probably explained on his channel. Actually, he has explained on his channel a lot. But yeah, so he does seinen stuff, so that's like Shield Hero, Chainsaw Man when that comes out. I'm pretty sure he's going to be doing Tokyo Revengers as well. So that's pretty much that. Yeah, that's the end of this video. Remember, God is awesome, you guys are too, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.